Good morning. We're going to call this meeting to order. And first thing, we need to establish if we have a quorum. Thank you, Jamie. Our Workforce Investment Board Executive Director, Stephanie Evans Kinsley, we'd like to welcome her this morning, and she'll update us on the organization of the Kentucky WKWB and its various committees and their tasks.
Are you ready for me to take it away?
We are.
All right, wonderful. So again, I am the newly appointed Executive Director for the Kentucky Workforce Innovation Board. I've been in this chair since July, and we are State Workforce Board. We have had the same membership since the start of the administration, so we haven't had a lot of staffing changes, but the committee makeup has really been focused in three particular areas. The Workforce Participation and Sustainability Committee is led by Amy Luttrell, who's Goodwill CEO, and then Education Attainment and Engagement with Beth Davison, who's the Chamber Foundation Vice President, and then the Resource Alignment and Funding Committee, whose chair is Kim Menke. So these are sort of the big umbrella working structures. Most of the good work of the KWB gets done at the committee level. So we have a board of about 50 individuals that is a combination of the business and industry, as well as our state agency partners. But our committees are populated by volunteers in that space as well. So whether that is staff of the agencies of the KWB membership or community partners, other business and industry leaders who are just really interested in working in the workforce space. And I say this just because we are always looking for new blood and new energy on our team. So if anyone is interested, all of these meetings are publicly posted at our webpage, and that's just kwib.ky.gov. On our calendar, the links for the Zooms are there. For the foreseeable future, we will be remaining hybrid. So we're going to get back together in person starting in 2022, and also specifically with the collaborative, which has just been recalled for November 30th of 2021. So kicking off the end of the year with the work of the Kentucky Collaborative. So the Workforce Board, it also is staffed with the Collaboratives team from Kim Menke's committees. So the Resource Alignment and Funding Committee works both in the KWB space as well as in the collaborative space. So that is really where our big focus has been. Lori Ulrich is also in charge of our Work Ready communities, and they're sort of just a little bit off to the side. It's a program we inherited from Community Economic Development, but they are integrated under the KWB and have a great staff, but they're also looking to recruit new members to review the community's Work Ready applications. It's a quarterly thing that we review just to see what communities are looking to renew, looking to extend, or working in progress towards becoming certified Work Ready. So that's the 3,000-foot view of the KWB in a nutshell. And I know that Sheila had wanted me to talk today a little bit about the work of the collaborative and what we're hoping to do in this space. So as some of you may know, our Workforce Innovation Board is set through federal law. We've got requirements of things that we are mandated to do. There are things that we have the flexibility to do. And the governor has adopted the goals and strategic plan elements from our 2022 workforce report and urgent call. I can never remember the title of this report, but it's 2018. We're still working on it. It's in progress. And we are taking a long, hard look at the executive order that established the Kentucky Workforce Collaborative and looking to make sure that we are meeting what the governor has set out for us as our mandates. We haven't met since before COVID. We had one virtual meeting at the midpoint of 2020, and it's really just sort of fallen off the radar as other initiatives have really taken the forefront. But what we hope to do with the collaborative and are looking for a lot of feedback from our partners is to establish a funding report. The last time the annual mandated funding report had been completed in the workforce system was in 2019, pre-pandemic. So we're looking to collect the data from all of our workforce partners, as well as our nonprofit and state agencies that work adjacent to the workforce space, to figure out where all this unprecedented federal funding is going, who is using it, what are they using it for, how can we make sure that we are maximizing the outcomes with the money that we've received that may be overlapping from agency to agency. So the collaborative's got business and industry identified, but also it's the Justice Cabinet, the Labor Cabinet, Education and Workforce, Community Economic Development, CHFS. And so we take a look at all agencies that receive federal additional grant funds, all of that, and really just kind of take a look at where can we align some of these resources to get a better outcome. And then part two of what we are taking up with the collaborative is also a statewide MOU. So the executive order issued in 2020 from Governor Beshear had indicated that the state partners were to get together and really define their role in the public workforce system by function. So not just we are education workforce development and we do these things, but we play this role in the public workforce system. And if you have a question about ABC, you can contact these individuals. So we're really just trying to get our house in order to break down a lot of those silos for our outside partners so that they have questions about a particular piece of the workforce system. They will know who's in charge of that piece and how to contact them. So that's the second group and subcommittee under the collaborative that we will be assigning tasks and setting calendars for 2022 in our November meeting. And that third part is what we have been doing a lot of the work with the local areas for the last couple of months. My team has been going from local area to local area to review the 2020 WIO State Plan as the 2022 modification is coming due this April. So we've been getting a lot of anecdotal feedback from the local areas and the partners so that we can ensure that the document that we are making changes to really reflects what's happening on the ground. The KWIB likes to sort of live up here in the policy space, always have the direct connection to who's providing the front end direct service to the participants in the workforce system. So we're trying to create more formal channels of communication, both from the local area to the KWIB and vice versa. So the third work group that we're going to be requesting assistance for is really to take a look at that strategic data that has been gathered both by individual and public comments, as well as some data that KY Stats has pulled for us to take a look at how has the public workforce changed since November 2019 when the 2020 plan was created. How has COVID changed the universe? What does the workforce data look like? And really taken into account where we find ourselves in the recovery process at this moment. So that is a lot about what we are doing currently. I know there's all of the meetings that are going to be scheduled for 22 should make their way to our website over the next couple of weeks so that if anyone is interested in joining any of these committees, they can always reach out to myself or Debbie Dennison, who is our executive assistant and is my right arm at the KWIB and makes all the trains run on time. So if you ever have a question, Debbie is always available as well. And Myra, I don't know if there was anything other specifics that you wanted me to cover, but that's sort of where we are right now, what we've got on the horizon and what we hope to continue with collaboration in these spaces moving forward. And I'm a Yankee talk fast. So anytime I speed through the information, if you need any clarification or have follow-up, just let me know.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie. Anyone have any comments or questions for her? Okay, we'll move on. On our agenda, we need to look at our approval of the last meeting minutes. I think you've already gotten those. You should have already been able to review those. And when I ask for a motion, if you would please state your name before you make the motion and the second, I'd appreciate it very much. So are there any additions, corrections, or deletions to the minutes? Okay, if not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of September 22nd, 2021 full board meeting.
Motion, Wayne Belanger.
Dennis Courtney, second.
Thank you, Dennis. All in favor, say aye.
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 Everybody turn on their mic. Any opposed, like sign?
Aye.
Is that a yay?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you. We'll move right into old business. And I think I'm up on the agenda first. I think I'm the only one here that went to the SETA convention this year. It was in Biloxi. Great time. I mean, it was a lot of fun. Very different from what we had done in the past. We did have probably plus 250 participants, not the quite 450 to 500 we're used to, but it was nice to get back. First time we've had SETA since, other than virtual, since the pandemic. So the in-person SETA this time was great to have. I felt very safe. You had to be vaccinated before you were allowed to come. They did everything by your phone. You checked in by your phone. You had your temperature taken every day. And we wore masks. That was, just part of the conference. The meals were mostly boxed, so that wasn't great unless we went out. The information was great. I always enjoy Ron Painter and John Chamberlain. They always have a wealth of information that they share with us. John was on a rampage this time, I think. He was more political than I'd ever seen him before. But he still had a lot of information about what's going on in Washington. It would be hard not to be political if you have to deal with Washington all the time. But then I think that some of his comments were unusual. I wasn't prepared for, but he was very political this time, had a lot of views that he felt. And on the being vaccinated, I chose to do that and I was fine with it. I'm just not sure that I would like to be for it to be mandated, because I think I would push back on that. But the conference was good, so I hope next time we'll have more that participate. And thank you for the opportunity to go. Okay. Any questions, comments on the SETA convention? Okay. Next, we're going to go into an overview of the current workforce data with the Kentucky Workforce Dashboard and a labor market snapshot. Cece Fox, our Director of Services Provider, Associate Director of Workforce, will give an overview of the current workforce data. Cece? You're still muted, Cece. Oh, I see Chrissy, not Sissy. Sorry. You don't see Sissy? Okay. We'll come back to her. We'll jump into the overview of the financial information report. Cindy Cummings, our MIS financial coordinator, will give us the financial report.
Good morning. In your packet on page 33 and 34 is the West Kentucky Workforce Board Financial Report for period ended November the 17th, 2021. Funds received to date are $5,862,211.52, and we have expended $1,632,376.37. We have received our adult and dislocated worker funds for our October allocation. We have received those. So the projected funds for this year, we've already received all of them for this year. Noted on page 34, our Fort Campbell Strong Workforce Partnership Grant and our USDOL Briggs and Stratton Grant. Both of those grants did end September the 30th of 2021, and they were successful grants. I know there was funds left that we did not spend. The Fort Campbell Strong Grant was mainly due to staffing that our contractors had hired for these centers. They had left early to find different jobs. And of course, the USDOL Briggs and Stratton Grant, we did put in training funds for that grant, but that grant ended up being a trade petition grant. So the training funds were paid out of trade instead of this National Dislocated Worker Grant. If there's not any questions, that's all of my presentation. Thank you.
Here she is. She's coming over.
Is she gonna be? Okay. Thank you, Cindy. We're gonna go ahead and let Juliet Allen, our workforce program specialist, present the on-the-job training contract ratifications and an update on the policies.
Good morning. In your packets on page 35, you'll see the OJT contract ratification. And as you can see, we've picked up a lot of contracts. We're up to 25 companies. And you'll note there are 2 blanks on page 35. And those are 2 companies that are currently in negotiation. They have not finished coming to an amount or a decision, but I wanted to go ahead and show you who we were negotiating with, where you had the full information. You'll note there are 47 active OJTs already at this point in the year, so it has been very active, but we do have 180 available positions that the BST staff is waiting to fill, and that doesn't include those 2 new companies. So with that, Madam Chair, I do need a motion to approve.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Dennis Courtney, move to approve.
Thank you, Dennis. Second.
This is Dan Bozarth. I second the motion.
Thank you, Danny. Everyone turn their mic on. All in favor, say aye.
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 Better.
Aye.
Any opposed? Like sign. Okay, motion carries. Tammy Hyde, our workforce training data specialist, will give us an update on program performance.
Good morning. In your packets on page 36 is an update of the most recent performance that the state has submitted to us. It covers the period for our first quarter, which would be July 1, 2021 through September 30th, 2021. At this point, we are in line to meet or exceed all of our performance measures. We do keep a separate database from what the state pulls so that we can see what's going on and kind of know where we are as we're moving along. And based on those numbers as well, we are still in line. The state system, they are still working on that for the accuracy of the data, but we are excited that the numbers that they're reflecting now are much higher and much more in line with what we're showing. So we're hopeful that the numbers are getting there and will be in place. We also compared a little bit of this to statewide and what we were looking at. And we've seen, like, for example, the adults employed in the second quarter after exit, our local area is showing 89.9%, and the majority of the other areas across the state are showing less than 80%. There's a few that are near us, but the majority are showing less than 80%. So we're hopeful that with putting people into training and OJTs and helping them find jobs and get the credentials needed for the upgrades, that we are filling the spots here in our area locally, regardless of the fact that there's still a lot of job openings out there. We are hopeful that we'll continue with this trend and we'll see our numbers continue to rise. And that concludes my report. Thank you. Okay. And next will be Sissy Fox. She is the Associate Director of the Purchase Ad, and she's going to talk about Kentucky Workforce Dashboard and the labor market information.
Thank you, Tammy. In the board packet on pages 29 and 30, you will find the updated Kentucky Workforce Dashboard information. Page 29 includes the labor market snapshot detailing unemployment information. As of September 2021, the national unemployment rate was 4.6%. The state rate was 3.9%, and the rate in Western Kentucky was 4.3%. In our local workforce area, there were approximately 155,000 individuals who were employed and about 6,500 who were unemployed. Page 30 details unemployment rates by county from September 2020 through September 2021. On pages 31 and 32, there is an article titled "Kentucky has twice as many open jobs as unemployed workers." According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, in August 2021, Kentucky had 167,000 job openings, and there were only 85,000 unemployed Kentuckians. It is also reported that the unemployment crisis in our state has been building for 2 decades and has multiple root causes, including health issues, childcare, post-secondary attainment rates, and criminal records. Unless there are questions, Madam Chair, that completes my report.
Hey, thank you, Sissy. Sorry you
You're
were
welcome.
having technical difficulty. Any questions for Sissy? Okay, we'll move right in. Jonathan Pendergrass is our acting executive director of the Career Services Development Center Office. Kentucky Career Center will give an update on unemployment and current activities. Jonathan?
Hi, good morning, everyone. It's nice to be with you. Just a few updates on the career centers statewide. We are continuing to see unemployment insurance customers either in person or by phone. That was one addition that has been made. Instead of a customer can go online, schedule an appointment if they need intensive assistance with unemployment insurance, and that appointment can be over the phone or in person. So that has helped tremendously on the convenience and experience of the customer. Right now, and we started seeing people in person for unemployment April 15th of this year. And to date, statewide, we've seen 67,790. We've completed actually, either face-to-face or on the phone through our local career centers throughout the state, and there's 13. We've scheduled about 84,000, but due to no shows and whatnot, but we're pretty proud of that fact. And one thing that is happening right now is appointments are available throughout the day. So people, they're not going near as fast. So people can log on to our KCC website and be able to get that. Centers are also open, and walk-ins are absolutely welcome and encouraged for employment needs. So if you need, if anyone needs, assistance in that area, they can just come to the center, no appointment necessary. Just come in and be able to receive that assistance. The phones are also currently back on, especially in this particular area. When somebody calls the center, obviously they'll have an option, one for, unemployment, and that will go to a call center. But any other needs, whether it's training or employment assistance or anything like that, they can press that and they actually get to speak to a live person right there in the Career Center. So that's obviously better for those of you, or for those needing that services. So we're just continuing on. One thing, West Kentucky always does incredible is work well together. And that's recognized statewide. We just, all the partners, come together and try to serve customers holistically and through the workforce system, and that's what it's intended to do. So just obviously kudos for that. I'm from West Kentucky, so I may be a little biased in this, but I've worked in the career centers for years in West Kentucky, but West Kentucky, just for the board, does an incredible job and, has good leadership. So that's it.
Thank you, Jonathan. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, thank you for being with us today. Next, we're going to have Sheila Clark, our Workforce Director, to give us some updates on the interlocal local officials agreement, the revision, partnership agreement, and consortium meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. I want to go back and add a little to John's prior comments. So I didn't want to switch chairs twice, so I just thought I'd wait till I got here. We appreciate John's comments on all the activities there. One of the things that we wanted to say was that we really appreciate some conversations that Secretary Link had with us as directors, the 10 local area directors across the state, and talking to us about some potential changes that we might be seeing with the cabinet, and having the two cabinets, the Education and Workforce Development Cabinet and the Labor Cabinet, trying to work together and function and focus as one. And he would be applying his leadership there to some of those activities as they're trying to function together. There are so many things that link one cabinet to the other with the workforce activities alone that it's put us in a position of having to go back and forth between the two cabinets. So we appreciated that he felt that he needed to personally talk to us and give us some information. And as we move forward to the legislative session, we expect to get additional information on the reorganizational efforts here. Of course, it is a legislative decision from what I understand, but that we will get more of a vision of that. In fact, we're hoping that we might get something in the next few days on that guidance and what the vision is for that. So I wanted to say to all of our board members and partners that are on the line, please be sure and look and listen for news releases on some of these topics. We had asked the secretary to be with us today, but due to the other activities he had going on with that pending, he was not able to join us. But I did want to say that we did give him an open invitation to visit our area. And we're trying to finalize some dates for that at this time. it looks like that perhaps the tentative dates that we're looking at right now would be the first full week of December. And of course, that's subject to change, but that's our first time period that we're looking at. And he would be coming into the area and visiting our 2 career centers in Paducah and Hopkinsville. And we'll try to put in some other meetings while he's here, because it's such a long trip to get here. We want him to enjoy his stay and try to get as much information as possible while he's here. So we do appreciate the efforts of Vicki and John and everyone else in support of his visiting us in our area. So thank you all for that help. The other thing I'll talk about is what I came up here to talk about. One other thing with that, if we receive information on that, we'll also send it out to our board, both the visit of the secretary as well as any other guidance that we receive from the state. One of the things that I'm speaking about today are some of the backbone agreements and partnership agreements and all the things that help make us be compliant with the law and trying to put our local workforce board together. And remember that in us talking about the organizational efforts that we have, the partnership in this is between the local officials who make decisions, who come on the board, and their role in accepting the funds and guiding the funds throughout the year. And of course, we have Judge Todd Cooper and Judge Steve Tribble that are our chief local officials at the current time. We've had several different people that serve this role, but we have one judge from the Pinnerwile counties and one judge for the Purchase counties that come together and make decisions on behalf of the other local elected officials. And they are called the chief local elected officials because they were voted into that position. Not sure they had a lot of competition there for that decision, but they do have a lot of responsibility in attending these meetings and the executive committee meetings at times. And then they always play a role in reviewing our budgets and looking at performance for the next year and helping us decide on how we might negotiate that for the next year. And then just general policies and procedures that we would have as a board that we put into place. In thinking about all these pieces, we're at a time period that one of the documents called an interlocal agreement, that is an agreement shared between the counties to bring this group of counties together to function as one in a workforce consortium. That agreement has a 5-year life, and due to COVID, it's a little beyond that 5-year life. And so we've been asked by the state to go ahead and look at making revisions to that. And some of the local areas have gone ahead and made those revisions and visited each of the fiscal courts and either had the judge sign off or go through the court to have that sign off done. And we are going to start that process shortly. We have a requirement of the state to maybe add a couple of policies to that are out there right now. And other than that, we would be doing no major updates to that interlocal agreement. We also have an agreement called a partnership agreement, and it restates many of the same policies that we have in the interlocal agreement, but it's a working agreement between the local officials and the workforce board. And we would be updating that as well. We don't see any major additions to that would change the content greatly. The one policy that we would be including is the state has made a decision to allow us to move forward in selecting a fiscal agent grant subrecipient without having to procure that. And so that would be a great plus. We would spend less time and money because we wouldn't be procuring something when the local officials can make that decision on their own. And that's something that we're hoping to see the benefit of very quickly and not having to move and do those tedious administrative duties. The other point that we wanted to mention is the consortium meeting would have to occur at least once a year, where we would bring together a quorum of all the county judge executives to have information and details on the budget for the upcoming year, on performance for the upcoming year, and learn a few items about what the focus has been and will be on the local workforce board. And if there's any changes in the process of appointments or whatever, that would be a time that would be shared. And right now, we think that meeting would be a Zoom meeting, and we would ask the judges to join us, and also they'll be giving their approval of that interlocal agreement. Now, these agreements are lengthy agreements, and we did not include them in the packet for today, but we will post them. So if you'd like a copy of them, you can get to that through the Workforce Board Members portal, or if anybody else would like a copy, we can also send it to you. And of course, we'll be working very closely with Judge Cooper and Judge Tribble as we move forward with that, and they'll become a point of information to the other judges. Of course, we'll deal with anybody that has any questions on any of that as we move forward. We'll be working with Mike Foster as the attorney on this as we move forward. So you might hear references to some of this discussion over the next 2 or 3 months. But I did want to bring that to your attention. And I'll stop just a moment, and if there's any questions, I'll try to answer them. I think the big thing to remember is we have to update these. We're on a time frame to do that. COVID has delayed us a little. We're going to go ahead and move forward with that, and there will not be any changes that you all would notice, except for the fact that we will not be procuring a fiscal agent. It will be a designation process by the local officials. Thank you very much, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Sheila. Okay, at this time, I will entertain anything else that has to do with old business. Anyone?
Just like to thank Stephanie for being with
Yes.
us. It was a real effort for her today, and we appreciate it.
We do appreciate Stephanie coming today, or tuning in. Okay, we'll move right into consideration of new business. At the last meeting, a nominating committee was announced to secure nominations for the officers of the West Kentucky Workforce Board for the upcoming 2 years. The following members were announced to serve on that committee: Danny Bozarth, Vicki Hutchison, and Chris Wooldridge. The nominating committee, with that, Danny Bozarth is going to present the slate of officers to the board today for consideration. Danny?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. It's always nice to be a guest on the Jackie Jones show. As you said, the board, the nominating committee was myself, Chris Wooldridge, and Vicki Hutchison. On the screen, you should see a recommended slate of officers for the next coming 2 years. The West Kentucky Workforce Board has 4 officers: chair, vice chair, secretary, and treasurer. And the bylaws requires that we split that geographically so that the purchase has 2 and the penny route has 2. And further, that the chair and the vice chair be from 2 separate regions. So with that, you see, we're trying to maintain some continuity. We've left some current officers there and recommended some changes, and added 1 new nominee, Donnie Holland from Cadiz. Most people know Donnie down this way. He's the Michael Jordan of manufacturing, but we'd be very fortunate to have him on the board. The excuse me, the officers serve for a 2-year term. And like I said, geographically dispersed. So, Madam Chair, with that, that's the slate that the committee is recommending. At this time, I think it'd be appropriate to see if there's anybody other than those 4 that would be nominated from the floor.
Are there any nominations from the floor? Okay, with that, we will need a motion to approve the 21-22 or 21 through 23 West Kentucky Workforce Board officers as they have been presented today.
And as chairman of the nominating committee, I make that motion.
Okay, do we have a second?
Sandy Ritchie, I will second that motion.
Okay, everybody turn on their mic. Everyone in favor say aye.
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 Y'all are getting good at that. Any opposition, like sign? Okay, motion carries. Okay, next we're going to have some reporting from the business liaisons. Tom Scholler, I think is going to go first, then we'll have Molly and Mary Ann.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Still don't know why I go first. I guess to get the ugly over with before the two beauties is the only thing I can figure. First of all, I want to mention a job fair we held here in Hopkinsville, Regional Job Fair on November 4th. First and foremost, I want to thank the staff for helping with this. It's not done by one person, it's done by a committee. And thank you to the staff and to our co-sponsors, so to speak, the Edge Media Group and Southwest Economic Development and Hopkinsville Community College. We had 50 businesses that participated in the event with 200 or so attending, job seekers attending. The companies were represented from 6 different counties that I'm aware of. I might have missed one county, but I know there were 6 counties that were represented by the companies who were there, and several job offers were made that day. I know myself and some of the staff and Sheila talked to some of the HR managers who were present that day, and there were several job offers that were actually made that day. And if you go back to Sissy's presentation a while ago about there being 2 jobs for every person that's seeking a job in Kentucky, it is a market for someone who is actually seeking a job right now. There are plenty of jobs available. I know there were 1,000 jobs or so that were available that day at the job fair on the 4th. Speaking of the job fair that day, we had one new company that had just been announced in Hopkinsville that was present that day. They don't even have their building finished yet, but they were actually recruiting workers. Easy Access, back to our HR manager, corporate HR manager, flew in from Seattle, Washington that day to be there on site, and they actually made some job offers that day and are working currently on background checks and so on and so forth. So it was a very active scene that day. And of course, there have been previous announcements earlier in the region as far as either expansions by Metalsa and Stanley here in Hopkinsville, and then load coverings in Katie's. So there are plenty of jobs available out there. I do want to mention that the business services teams here in Hopkinsville and elsewhere continue to work with the local economic development agencies in our regions. I know myself and Carter and his staff have worked with several requests for several companies in our area as far as needing labor market information. And then we've also had some meetings on site with some of the companies as far as their issues and needs for workers. Also met with Amanda Davenport with Lake Barkley Partnership 2 weeks ago with a business down in Princeton that had some questions that they wanted answered about recruitment of employees and training. We're sharing information with all of our partners, and they are sharing information back with us at BST meetings. And last but not least, well, not last, but one of the main things we're doing right now, we've seen a significant increase in this, is the promotion of jobs and job openings at the industries and businesses in our region. I know Melissa Thompson, she's probably getting tired of me emailing her information flyers sent from companies where they're having recruitment events. And those events are being held on site at their locations, or some of them are held off site, but most of them are held on site at their locations. So we continue to promote those, and we get a bunch of those each week. Also, some staff, Sheila and myself participated or went to the Southwest Kentucky Economic Development Business Appreciation Luncheon the other day. It was a great event held by Carter and his staff. A lot of industries were present that day, and it was good to see people face to face. We're beginning to have meetings back in the companies, but some of those companies I had not been in a while, and it's good to see some HR managers face to face and have a chance to catch up and talk with them about some of their needs. And speaking of that, I'm leaving here in a few minutes and going to the Panorama Industrial Managers Meeting, which will be held here in Hopkinsville. It's the first time it's being held in person in probably 2 years. So it's going to be good to get back with the industrial managers and HR managers and be in the same room with them and hear their concerns and hopefully assist them with any needs that they may have. Subject to any questions I have, that's pretty much all I have right now, unless someone has a question that's directed to me. If not, I will hand it off to Miss Molly.
Good morning, everybody. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I went this morning before the board meeting to the Time to Compete tour. It was hosted by the Kentucky Chamber and the Hopkins County Regional Chamber of Commerce. I believe they were in the Paducah area last night, but we talked a lot about taxes, a bit about workforce information, but one of the stats they threw out there that struck me was that Kentucky's workforce participation rate is currently 56.3%. We are ranked the third lowest in the nation right now. And of course, this can be attributed to many factors: slow population growth, childcare, transportation issues, inability for folks to pass drug screens. But the fact of the matter is we have to do better. It's a really scary reality that we're living in right now, but I think we're slowly starting to see an uptick in activity in our areas. In the meantime, our employers are still needing assistance in gaining access to skilled talent. In that spirit, the Hopkins County Job Expo Committee decided to have another job fair event. It's coming up on December 7th at the Ballard Center in Madisonville. So far, we have around 30 employers registered. So feel free to contact me if you need more information or the direct registration link. Our business service team continues to work with local employers and offer assistance with recruitment and other ways besides job fairs and hiring events. I've had some really good workforce collaborative meetings lately in my area that I wanted to quickly highlight. Marianne actually shared with me the contact information for Ben Stinnett, who's the Recruitment and Career Services Officer for the UK College of Engineering Paducah campus. And I had him to Hopkins County last week and connected him to MCC, our local EDC, and a group of employers who are interested in co-ops and internships with Ben's engineering students. I'm also connecting him to a few employers in Muhlenberg County. I'm looking forward to partnering with him more on future projects. I met with Amanda Davenport with the Lake Bartley Partnership last week, and we had a few really good employer meetings in Crittenden County. I saw Tim Capps on the call earlier, so I wanted to personally thank him and his team for a great meeting and a tour of Par 4 Plastics. This was actually my second tour of the facility, and it was great to see some of the new state-of-the-art equipment that they have on the floor and to get an opportunity to talk to their employees. So I really did enjoy that. I was included in a meeting yesterday with Alstrom Munsko in Madisonville. They broke ground on a new glass fiber tissue line, which will add 50 new jobs, paying around $30 an hour with benefits. I was invited to speak with their leadership team to talk about recruitment efforts and workforce programs and resources to fill their slots. MCC was brought in to talk about training opportunities that Alstrom seemed really, really excited about. So it was nice to see all the partners at the table and hear about all the positives that this addition will bring to the community and our region. Tomorrow, I'm presenting on workforce resources in Muhlenberg County. We're calling it PERC, Poor and Workforce. Since it's first thing in the morning, I need to give a shout out to Melissa Thompson for coming up with that name. So it's been busy since our last meeting, and I'm sure Tom and Mary Ann would agree it doesn't show any signs of slowing down. Lots of good conversations and activities going on. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us for assistance. And with that, I will turn it over to Mary Ann.
Thank you, Molly, and thank you for taking care of Ben Sennett. He's one of my workforce partners here with the UK College of Engineering, and we've been getting him out to Hopkinsville and to Madisonville, and that's really important for those students because, as you all may or may not know, the UK College of Engineering campus there in Paducah is the only engineering satellite campus that UK has. It's been around for about 27 years, and it's incredibly important for our region, meaning the entire 17 county footprint, not just the Purchase region. So thank you all so much. He is a dear friend and an important workforce partner for me anyway. So since our last meeting, things here in the Purchase have been concentrating on getting back to life as normal. It's been about just digging in, getting work done, and moving forward with life. We know that we'll still have to address certain COVID things when things happen. But for the most part, we're moving forward. Our partners are beginning to have in-person meetings, and it's good to see folks again. I'm seeing friends that I haven't seen since February of 2019. And so that's really good. On September 30th, we closed the chapter on the Briggs and Stratton National Emergency Grant. As you all know, that when they announced in August of 2019, they had over 600 employees, many of which left before they were actually laid off because the worker shortage was already in place long before the pandemic. And many of them lived here in Murray and was able to transition into other employment. Those who lived in Henry County, we saw that several of them actually went to jobs there in Henry County, and same thing with Marshall and Graves. So while there are still a handful of people who are unemployed, they are still connected to career coaches and receiving that support. Many of those individuals are looking for their last job. What do they want to do, and what do they feel safe being able to pursue as their last job before they retire? So as much as anything, the times that we served this workforce was one that had a really special place in my heart because Murray is my home. And, you know, it doesn't matter whether it was Murray, it was my home or not, because every time that our rapid response services are called upon, it is comforting to know that the workforce board can play a role in helping that workforce transition and be able to support that community. So I want to thank the staff and the board for that opportunity to serve this workforce because it really does make a difference. October was jam-packed with several economic development projects. I think in about a 2.5 week time period, I made 9 presentations for economic development and groups that are considering projects in our area. One group that I presented to was Leadership Kentucky. They were visiting Paducah with that specific cohort and had spent, a day and a half or so in Paducah learning about, the river industry and the different sectors that are available there in Paducah. And we ended the day with workforce challenges because Paducah is actually one of those communities that unless you live in the area, you don't really understand. But Paducah is one of our leading commuter inflow communities. Matter of fact, it ranks 7th in Kentucky inflow patterns. And what that really means is that they draw more workers than they draw more workers who live outside their county than what live inside their county. And only the counties that are contiguous to Cincinnati and Lexington have stronger commuter inflow patterns. So we talked a little bit about that day. Our area employers are really strongly affected by the worker shortage. Of course, as we know, it wasn't created by the pandemic. It's something that's been in place for a long time. We've known since 1990 this was going to happen because of low birth rates that it was occurring, and we didn't improve that situation in between any of the censuses. But we're working through the challenges and helping them to understand what resources are available and how we can help them, even if it's in just a small way. I'll share one story specifically. We had a local employer here who called us and said, hey, I'm a moving company and I'm having a hard time finding workers to work in my warehouse and also to help with our moving. How can you help? And so when I asked, well, how are you taking applications? Who are you recruiting? How are you doing it? And it really was just kind of word of mouth. They may have placed an ad on Indeed, but it really wasn't getting any attention. So I looked at their website and I saw that their slogan was, we make moving simple. So I pitched to them. I said, hey, let's play with this just a little bit. Let's make applying for your job simple. And he said, the thing is, if they would just call me and schedule an appointment, I'll give anybody an interview. I'll give anybody a chance for these jobs. So that's what we did. In the ad, we make moving simple. We make applying for our job simple. Call this number for an appointment. His phone rang off the wall, so he felt like people were engaged with the social media ad. And by the end of the week, he was able to hire 3 individuals. He paid them $12 an hour, which was great, but unfortunately, none of them were actually eligible for OJT. But for him, finding 3 candidates that filled his jobs and who are still there after 30 days was a workforce solution for him. So we talk a lot about how to recruit in this situation, and that was an employer that saw a solution. At the last Kentucky Workforce Board meeting, McCracken County application for Work Ready Communities was reviewed. And so I'm going to ask my friend, Kevin O'Neill, to hop on and tell us some news.
Good morning, everyone. I'm excited to share that McCracken County's recertification application was approved. We are very ecstatic about that. And like I said before, when we went through the first certification, if it doesn't do anything more, and it does, but if it doesn't do anything more than when we got together as a community, we had education, we had business, we had, higher ed, post-secondary, so on. And the exercise of getting together and really getting to know what everybody does and how important their piece is to a puzzle, which it is a puzzle. So that it just helped us to, again, just look again what we've accomplished in the last few years, what we're going to be striving for in the future. And I think it's a good tool, I think, for economic development, but only just for the community, the county, city. It's been a great experience again. So thank you again for Marianne for your help and support, and we look forward to moving forward with this.
Well, congratulations, Kevin. And that effort was led by the Greater Paducah Chamber of Commerce and
Right.
Kevin O'Neill there at the community college. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So I'm going to wrap up my presentation with a little note. This is actually National Apprenticeship Week. So I have some things I'm going to share with you all about National Apprenticeship Week. Yesterday, I was in a meeting. We are in the process of renewing our Perkins plan, which is how our post-secondaries and our secondary school districts receive funding, workforce dollars through the Perkins process. And our area technology center directors were talking about the fact that they want to continue to push apprenticeships as an important priority for area technology centers, which I totally agree with that. And they were sharing about how many of their high school students are beginning to receive offers for job shadows and pre-apprenticeships starting in the spring. And the one that really tickled me to death was to hear about one young man who currently works at a car wash part-time after school and on the weekends. He has received an offer to be a welder at Triangle Enterprises there in Paducah, earning $20 an hour as a high school student. And he is just ecstatic, as we all were. We were all celebrating that news. Ingram Barge is also a company in Paducah and also in Columbus and Hickman County that hire a lot of our high school students, and they're also earning great wages. Locally with the Workforce Board, I have an apprenticeship that we're working on. The City of Hazel, it's South 641 Water District, is participating in an apprenticeship program through the Kentucky Rural Water Association. We've had this before. Molly has had some folks. I think Tom has had some folks through that particular apprenticeship. But they hired an unemployed veteran to pursue this 2-year apprenticeship position there with the city. And he began work there at the beginning, about the end of September, 1st of October. And it took a while to kind of get him his eligibility completed. There were lots of little loose ends that needed to be tied up, but he has transitioned well into employment and they are tickled to death. He'll be receiving 680 hours of OJT as part of his apprenticeship. And for them, it's making a huge difference to be able to hire an apprentice for their water system operator who is literally waiting to retire until they can get someone placed. So to be able to do that with an unemployed veteran is just really, really awesome. So unless there are any questions, that concludes my report.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Tom, Molly, and Mary Ann. That was great. At this time, I'll entertain anyone that has anything else about new business. And I think Sheila's going to talk to us a little bit, but anything else with new business? Okay, Sheila?
Maybe this is the last time I'll have to do a chair transfer. I wanted to make a few comments. Thank you, Mary Ann, for talking about apprenticeships. We had some opportunities, and there's also a big focus now with looking at non-traditional apprenticeships when certain areas that haven't normally been areas that you think of for apprenticeship, they're areas that are being addressed today for apprenticeships. I did want to go back and be sure and thank our nominating committee and thank our current officers for their service in those positions. And I think we have Donnie coming in, and know that he is no stranger to the activities that we do because he's been on the board for a long time. We appreciate him taking that position to help the board out. We do have the executive committee that will meet probably 5 or 6 times a year, and their next meeting would be probably in January. Their first role this year would be to look at the agreements that we just mentioned a few minutes ago, the local official agreements, and try to make sure that they're reviewing them on behalf of the board and working with the local officials. So that would be the next big duty that they would have. We'd probably be looking at our next board meeting at the end of January, the 1st of February. And that one would probably be maybe our last full Zoom meeting. And then after that, the executive committee would probably make some decisions about how we wanted to move forward. You know, due to our broad area that we cover, I know how much easier it is for everyone to come together. Even though we've been fortunate in the past and we didn't have issues with quorums, we know that traveling an hour minimum up to an hour and a half for some of the people because of the broad rural area, it is a challenge. And we don't pay for travel. You know, we've been lucky to have lunch, but the Department of Labor may stop that. So we may have challenges to try to accommodate everybody when we do come together. And looking at the calendar, we did have a meeting the other day of all of our partners with Stephanie Evans Kingsley and her group to talk about planning activities and the COVID impact. And I thank those of you all that participated in that. We had a large group, a lot of comments about how we're doing business and how we can do business better. Wanted to thank you all for those comments. I think one of the things that came up was our ability to communicate and our ability to share information. Even though we're a rural area, we've done that much better than some of the more concentrated areas in Lexington and Louisville. And we talked about how we were glad to share that information and how we depended upon our partners to respond quickly sometimes. So we do appreciate those comments. If you look on the calendar, which is the last page on the packet today, we did put down some tentative dates there for the secretary's visit, as I mentioned before, and those are tentative, and we'll be getting out more information on that for some of the groups as we move forward. We wanted to also mention that the local officials and we'll be reaching out to those fiscal courts and for their help. We'll probably start that in full swing in January and go into February with that. We also wanted to mention the future and upcoming events that you might see at the bottom of that calendar. We have the Workforce Summit. The Kentucky Chamber has just come out with their information. And of course, they have an online job board that you can post to. Many of our local chambers or local groups also have job boards. Unfortunately, we're required to use the state focus system for posting jobs. So we don't use those at the level that some of you all might use the other boards out there, but they are available. And in this time, people are trying to utilize all that they can. And Melissa will post any job listings that we receive on our websites, our social media pieces as well out there. We wanted to mention about SETA in the spring. It is in Destin, Florida, and I'm sure that the conference will be expanded back to its normal size by then. It was a hit on it financially to have the small numbers. They were in hopes, just based upon what they were seeing at that time, that they might have as many as 400 attend, but the 250 was a hit to them financially. And then, of course, we are a member of the National Association of Workforce Boards in Washington, D.C., and that conference is coming up in early April. And I know we'll try to have a couple of staff that may attend. And if any of our board members are interested, please let us know with that. Wanting to mention about SETA, we have a new Kentucky rep on SETA, Amy Glasscock, who is the director in Lexington. She'll be attending and serving as Kentucky's representative. And like right now, they're getting together to plan the last details for March. So it's quite a ways out that we're looking at things there. We wanted to give you an opportunity to hear what's going on from our business community. There's a lot of activity going on with economic development partnerships right now. There's a lot of interest in Western Kentucky, fortunately for us, and we'll continue to have staff support local economic development efforts with that. And we appreciate economic development joining us on these meetings, as well as our chambers participating on these meetings. I can't think of anything else I didn't touch on today, but we do appreciate having everyone on the meeting. Know that you can send me an email, ask questions. We'll get you copies of anything we referenced today. We're looking forward to the collaborative and what may come out of that. There's also opportunities there for you all to be a part of some of those committee meetings if you'd like. I know that we've had Job Corps as a part of some of those meetings in the past. but it only had a meeting or two in the past. It never really got started till COVID hit. So they're trying to use it, as Stephanie mentioned this morning, to have groups of committees that work with the KWEB and feedback information and collaborate with those groups. So if you're interested in any of that, please give me a call or Stephanie a call, and we'll try to line up that for you. If there's no questions, Madam Chair, I'll turn it back over to you.
Sheila, if I could just briefly mention, this is Anton Reese. I serve as co-chair of the chamber here in Paducah. I think it will be important to note, I guess it was last week, we had the groundbreaking for the new terminal at Markley Airport for the region. And so that's going to be a huge deal, obviously, for economic and workforce opportunities as well.
Thank you for telling us that. It will be and a great coup for Paducah to get that support they've been looking for so long there.
And I would note it was really great bipartisan support. The governor, the Senator McConnell, and Congressman Comer were all part of that groundbreaking as well. So it's really a huge deal.
Well, another list of more jobs we'll need to try to hunt to fill, and training for you all to do, I'm sure there. I failed while I'm sitting here, Madam Chair, I failed to ask if there were any comments from any of our other partners out there. But as you know, Dr. Reese, you can always jump in here. We're not formal. We like to share those good stories that are out there.
Thank you.
Dr. Young or Dr. Kelly, you all have anything that you'd like to share? I know that you all have had a lot of meetings going on.
Just appreciate your support and attendance at our recent listening tour, where KCTCS leadership came to share their vision for the institution for our institutions under his leadership. And so just always appreciate your support.
And I would just say ditto on what Dr. Young said. We're just moving along here, hoping to come out of the pandemic soon and keep growing our programs.
Thank you, Dr. Kelly. I know you all have some new ones there that you're working with. And I know I did have to go and make some comments the other day there, Dr. Young. I didn't walk away without the opportunity to make a few. Anyone else that needs to share any information with us today? Okay, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Sheila. With that, I would like to thank everyone for their indulgence and patience with me, because as I stumbled through some of these meetings and made mistakes, but I am glad and more than happy to turn my gavel over to the Dennis Courtney Show for the next 2 years. So with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Dennis Courtney's move to adjourn.
Do I hear a second?
Please.
I'll second the motion. Dan Bozar.
Okay, thank you, Danny. And one more time, turn those mics on, and all in favor, say aye.
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 Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving to you. Thank you very much.